Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this example really quickly on this. I figured this is appropriate for two reasons. One, this step 5 is basically just an analysis example, and we've already done that in this course. The other thing worth mentioning is I want to make sure that you have this resource as you start working on your homework, because I don't want you to not be equipped to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and just finish out our computations for this example. So just to sort of recap where we're at. So here's our problem. We're going to be designing, this timber beam. We've been given the loads and all the conditions necessary for our factors and whatnot, and our initial assumption that CF was 1. We performed the structural analysis. We did that pretty quickly because it's a fairly straightforward beam, simply supported beam, uniformly distributed load. And we've got our shear factored moment, and by observation we know our lambda value is 0.8. We've adjusted our design values, and a lot of the factors for this example were 1, and the only one that I guess is noteworthy on top of that is that the size factor is also 1. Let me make that a little bit wider just so it doesn't bunch up. Now, when I say the size factor is 1, I mean that for the initial stages of design. We're going to have to change it later, but for at least for our initial design, we can take that to be 1. And so with that, it makes the computation of our adjusted design values really, really easy. In fact, the only factor, at least at this stage, that we really had to go through and compute was our C sub B value, which was fairly plug and chug. We got 1.068. So we calculated an F prime B, F prime V, F prime C perpendicular, and an E prime. The only thing that's worth noting, again, is that the FB prime is a design value that we're going to have to update later. Our required section properties, so we'll take it one step at a time. So sorry about that. For moment, we know our factored moment. We know our design bending stress. So if sigma equals m over s, then s equals m over sigma. We can just take our moment divided by our adjusted design stress. So we'll call that F prime B in. Sorry, put that in there. And then we get a value of 382.12 cubic inches. For shear, we know our stress, we know our shear force, so instead of 3V over 2A, we say 3V over 2 sigma, or in this case, F prime Bn, to solve for the A, and we get this. Okay, so that's moment and shear. Deflection does take a little bit of work because we have our deflection limits. They're pretty easy, but our deflection expressions can get a little bit involved. So in the case of short-term deflections, that's just the live load deflection, 5WL to the 4th over 384 EI. Set that equal to our limit, and then solve. So we get that as 1401.9 inches to the 4th. Then we do the same thing for the long-term deflections. That part gets a little bit tricky. Again, to keep this in mind, this sort of shortcut right here where we just combine the dead load and the live load into this one big 5WL to the 4th over 384 EI expression, that's fine if it's distributed loads. And for the homework assignment, it's not. So you're going to have an expression for the dead load and an expression for the live load. You're going to have to set those equal to the short-term or the long-term deflection limit and solve. Now we get two values. From those two values, take the one that governs, and we get 14.01 or 1401.9 inches to the 4th. Again, I'm going through these steps pretty quickly. You can review the previous video where I go through it in detail. All right. So our design choices, what we do is we, for the section modulus requirements, the area requirements, and the moment of inertia requirements, we go through and we pick various options. Now, the one thing I want to note, and I didn't get a chance to discuss this in the class, is our required section modulus is 382 inches to the 3rd. If you go through the available shapes for both lumber and timber, you find that there's really no options in the lumber space that are going to have section moduli this big. So I guess an initial assumption we made at the very beginning of the problem was that this was going to be a timber. It was going to be a large element because we used the spruce pine fir #1 reference design values from timber. Now, if we were to use the ones from lumber, these values would be a little bit different. I mean, they wouldn't be gravely different, but they'd be slightly off. But what we can see at this point, because the section moduli are so big, that in order to meet the requirements of the design, we're going to have to use a timber. So that sort of justifies the initial path we took through the problem, that timbers were the way to go. Now, we've got the various shapes that we outlined. So what we did is we started with 6-inch wide shapes, and we said, what's the lightest shape that has, that meets these section requirements? And I put the star here on the section modulus because of those three, I think what might be easiest is to start by looking at the section modulus values, and then pick a value here and make sure these work, which they do. So like, for example, in the case of the 6x22, its area is bigger and its moment of inertia is bigger. So pretty straightforward. So we have a trial shape. Now that we have a trial shape, let's go ahead and start evaluating. So we're evaluating the 6x22. So the big thing to keep in mind is at this point we're looking at the actual design, the actual properties of the 6x22. So our bending stress, we calculate an F'Bn. We have to update the F'Bn for design, but all that basically means is just multiplying by the new size factor and dividing out the old one. Now our old one was 1, so we're really just multiplying by our new size factor. But if we assumed something that wasn't, 1, we'd have to account for that. Calculated the size factor over here. Remember, you're using the actual dimensions here, the actual depth dimensions, not the nominal dimensions. So we get a size factor of 0.937, multiply that, and we get this right here. So go back to our moment, go back to our section modulus. Here's our stress, here's our limit. We're good to go. So that's bending. Shear is going to be pretty quick. Shear's pretty easy. So we have our VU. Our VU, if we recall, was 13,200 pounds. Our area in this case is going to be 118.3. Okay, so from these, we can calculate, an FVU, which is going to be, let's see, I have this ready right here. Actually, oh no, I did this. I did this in stress fashion. Okay, so 3. So this is 167.37 psi, and if we compare that against the F'Vn, the F'Vn was 216 psi. That is okay as well. And that performance ratio is 0.775. So not bad for shear. Usually our shear performance ratio is going to be lower than bending for most normal routine cases, but it was a good bit lower. Okay, so deflection. We've got 2 limits. We have short-term and long-term. So before I do that, though, let me drag this down a little bit. Let's just make sure we have our values. I'm just going to have them referenced right up here. So our dead load deflection, I'll move that back down. There's that. Our beam length was 15 foot. Our E, which in this case E prime, and our moment of inertia, again, this is probably the most critical part. We're using the actual moment of inertia of the beam. Okay, the actual moment of inertia of the beam in this case is 4555. Okay. And then I guess I should also put our limits here. Just so that they're referenced. Okay. So, short-term deflection. Okay. So just plug and chug. So here's your live load, here's your foot, your beam span length, your E, your I, or sorry, E prime. And so when you chug all that out, you should get 0.154 inches. And when we compare that against the limit, so again, the first value, 0.154, that's how much the beam is actually deflecting. Half an inch is what it's limited to. So are we good? Yes, we're good. And so that performance ratio is 0.308. Okay. And long term, actually, hold on, let me put the little dash there. Is going to be half of our dead load deflection plus the live load. Okay, so that's going to be, so I'm actually going to write that a little differently in this case. Okay, and I'm going to do that for a specific reason. So that's going to be 0.5 times actually, let me write that a little bit different. Give me 1 second. I'm doing this for a reason, so forgive me. And then plus then we're going to multiply the whole thing by this. Okay. Now, the reason I'm writing it this way is because this would be a more, I guess, algebraically friendly expression maybe to interpret if the deflection expressions change. So, for example, if this expression is not valid because it's not a distributed load, then you'd have to replace that with what the actual expression is. And so it might make the algebra a little bit more messy, but I want to make sure that we're all familiar with that. So this works, and so you might want to think about the problem in that fashion. Okay. Now when you chug that out, you're going to get a deflection of 0.192. Okay, and then again, compare that against the long-term deflection limit of 0.75. Are we good? Yes, we're good. Okay, and that performance ratio, if you divide those two, that performance ratio is 0.256. Okay. Now we're actually almost done with the problem. So just to be clear, let's just sort of recap where we're at. We have a trial shape, a 6x22. We've evaluated bending, we've evaluated shear, we've evaluated deflection. The one thing we haven't evaluated is bearing. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at our bearing limit state. So for the bearing limit state, we know that our F prime C perpendicular is 682.33 psi. Okay. Because this is a simply supported beam, the bearing load, so let's just sort of draw ourselves a nice little picture here. Okay. So the bearing load that goes here, here I'll do this in another color. This is basically just going to be the reaction. Okay. And so that reaction in this case, so what is the reaction for a simply supported beam subjected to a uniformly distributed load? Oh, let me move my paper here. So what is the reaction for a simply supported beam subjected to a uniformly distributed load? It's just the shear, right? Because, you know, think this through. If you have a simply supported beam with a load on it, you have a reaction. The shear diagram looks like that. And this value, which is WL/2, that's just the reaction. So my load in this case is just my maximum shear, which is 13,200 pounds. My bearing area is the width of the beam times the bearing width, or bearing length. This is 5.5 times 5.5. So, which is 30.25. So therefore, the applied stress that we're getting, sorry, not N, the U. The applied stress that we're getting in bearing space is just PU over AB, which is 13,200 pounds over 30.25 square inches, which is 436.36 psi. And again, if we compare that to the limit, which is 682.33, we are also okay. And that performance ratio is 0.64. So just to sort of encapsulate the entire problem, what have we done? We have done our structural analysis, computed our adjusted design values with some assumed factors, determined required section properties, went through our shapes, found a trial shape, and then we evaluated that trial shape. And for that trial shape, we found that for every relevant limit state, it works. And we should also note that the highest performance ratio we got was the one for bending, and that was pretty high, 0.962. So if that value is 90% or better, that not only means, you know, I mean, obviously this one governs, but the fact that it's over 90% means that this is a pretty optimal design. So what is the final answer for this entire problem? Use a 6x22. That is our answer. Okay. So with that, I just wanted to have that as a reference as you're working on your assignment and whatnot. Should be fairly straightforward. With that, that's all I have, everybody. I will see you all on Monday.